and welcome to Put That Coffee Down, the freight sales show for closers here at the Enterprise Fleet Summit. We're having a great day so far. Hope everyone is enjoying the content. I have a couple great guests coming on here in a second, and then back to the action, the fireside chats to round out the day. This show is all about sales. Plays here on FreightWaves TV, 12 p.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday. And as well, you can find it at Freightcast, our podcast network, or Put That Coffee Down. We have our own channel, and you can listen to the audio version right there. But let's jump into it because we have a great show for you today. First guest coming up is David Stone. He's the Director of Freight Brokerage over at Ryder. David, thanks for joining us here at the Summit.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love that theme song. Glad I'm on right after that. You may have caught me dancing in the background, so sorry about that.
It's one of my favorite theme songs. It's great. Dooner picked it out a couple years ago, and we've been just running with it ever since. But thanks for joining us today.
For sure. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's top it off. Ryder's mostly known. They've been around forever. Truck leasing, rentals, selling trucks. But you also do managed transportation. You also do freight brokerage, and you're the Director of Freight Brokerage over there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think if you would ask me even 3 years ago, hey, does Ryder have a freight brokerage? I think the answer is no. I don't know anything about it, and that's kind of been the thought process out in the industry. Everybody knows Ryder from, hey, I see the trucks on the road, I see the warehouses, but no one really talks about the other side of it from what else we do. And I think that's fantastic. That's really where we've come in, and we've kind of shaken up the market a little bit in terms of what we're selling, in terms of what we're going after. And that really, for us, it really boils down to we want to be the tip of the spear. We want folks to think about Ryder in the same way that they always have in terms of rental and leasing and warehousing. But we also want them to know that there is an aspect where they can get involved with Ryder at a very easy stage, right? And whether that's a single load with a given customer, whether that's an additional freight capacity coverage play with existing customers inside of Ryder, but the brokerage play is there, and it's something that we continue to build upon as we go forward. The plans for this brokerage are through the roof. I mean, exciting growth, exciting opportunities, exciting locations, everything that you would expect from really a top-notch, top 25 broker is the goal for us in terms of what we're pushing for.
And you mentioned you're shaking it up, which is always good to hear. You go into sales, you have to shake it up a little bit, and shaking it up is all about finding your differentiation. So, what differentiates Ryder, their freight brokerage, from others?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think a lot of folks really look towards the technology component that adds into a lot of why they're quote unquote better than another brokerage. And I think the piece for Ryder that's interesting is the fact that, we operate on really a couple core tenets. When I came into the brokerage and took over this piece, and we looked at really what is it that we want to be known for? What is it that we want to be out there in the market and talking to customers about? And really it boils down to what we call our concierge service, right? And that's just like you would expect at a hotel. You go to a hotel, you talk to the concierge. What do? They do anything for you, right? No matter what. And that's a big component of what we're doing. It's a big piece of what we sell. It's a big piece of our culture. From day one that new reps come into the organization in the brokerage, we teach them about that concierge service and what it means. And really what it means, and a lot of folks will say, hey, service is king and service is everything. But for us, it means a couple core tenets. First of all, we never give back a load, ever. Easier said than done, especially during a pandemic, especially during the environment that we're in right now from a market perspective. But we never give back a load. If we take that load, we're gonna move it for you, no matter what. And I think that's a big play for us. I think the second piece, right, is you have a single point of contact, no matter what. We are a cradle-to-grave environment, and we value that. If you have an issue, you know exactly who to call, and whether that's the carrier side or whether that's the customer side, you know exactly who you're calling. You're not getting routed through multiple different channels to try to find the one person that you book the load with. You know exactly who you went to, and you know exactly where to call, and you know that they'll pick up. That's a big piece of us. And then the third piece really is we value those carrier relationships. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that we have gone with the carrier's piece versus just simply saying, well, that's not what the contract said, or that's not what you agreed to. We're empathetic to those carriers. And I think that's a big play in the market that we're in right now. I mean, obviously, big conversation about fuel prices, big conversation about carriers and the ability for them to take loads and what that capacity looks like. But we're always going to be empathetic to those carriers. And we're always going to go after it from the perspective of this is their livelihood, this is what they do. And we need to recognize that, and we need to understand that, and we need to build from that if we expect to keep these carriers long term.
You're exactly right. I mean, you can't be a freight broker without having great carrier relationships. That's what it's really all about. It's just as important as having those customer relationships, having those carrier relationships. Yep. It's part of being the middleman, the freight broker in between. Another big theme this year, going in from last year, 2021, into 2022, is really visibility, right? And visibility throughout all of us. You know, going from the carrier visibility to the visibility through us, transparency, into the shippers. How do you guys connect all three to where visibility is right there in front for everybody?
Yeah, I think that's the big play in terms of what you're seeing inside the market right now. And I think, you know, the cool thing is I've been on the other side of that, right? I've worked for a small little company called Amazon for a number of years prior to Ryder. I get it. You know, that warehouse manager, that distribution manager wants to go to bed every night, and they want to know that their freight is taken care of, that they don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with an issue with their freight. And so I think if you can kind of think about who that customer is and what they need, at the end of the day, they just need to know that things are taken care of. And likewise, they need to know that when things do go wrong, that you've already thought through what it looks like to go solve their problem. I tell my folks all the time that, you know, they don't care about the 99% of time things went right. They care about that 1% when things didn't go right. What are you doing about it? How are you solving it? What is your plan of action? And those are the tough conversations that you got to make sure that your team is able to handle. And visibility allows us to really think ahead. The great thing about Ryder is because we are such an established company inside of logistics, I mean, 85 years plus in terms of overall Ryder, we have the data to support the things that we want to go off and solve. We have the data to go through and support where we want to really focus our efforts on. And so I think, obviously, from a big Ryder perspective, there is a big push for Ryder Share and what that looks like and how to provide visibility from a Ryder Share perspective. And it's definitely something from a brokerage piece that we continue to evaluate as part of our visibility play. And we're constantly innovating and evaluating new technology that gives us the ability to provide that visibility to whoever needs it. And whether that's visibility to the customer, whether that's visibility to an account executive so they can know everything's on track, whether that's visibility just from the overall standpoint of where are all my shipments and how are they progressing. We're constantly looking at that new technology and implementing it into the brokerage. But really, it just boils down to, you know, that visibility only gives you so much. What do you do with that visibility, and how do you ensure that that warehouse manager knows where their freight's at and can ensure on-time pickup, on-time delivery, and you're solving their problems for them. And really, that's where you become an extension of their supply chain. They can trust you because you're providing that transparency and that visibility to their shipments.
It's all about trust. You want to be an extension. You want to be a true outsourced partner. That extension, you have to have the trust, and technology enables you to build more trust. So a big push for the brokerage there at Ryder. How does the brokerage fit into the overall business model of Ryder?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it at the beginning, right? I mean, tip of the spear is really the word. And I think that's really our MO, and that's really what we're going after. We want to be that starting point for a lot of these shippers. When you think about it, a brokerage environment really allows for a brand new shipper. Maybe they don't ship a lot of freight and they're just trying this piece out. It allows them to come in. But it also allows big shippers the opportunity to experience our network of carriers. And maybe that's additional capacity that shipper needs. Maybe that's a new lane that shipper needs to run. Maybe that's an environment where that shipper is getting ready to open a new distribution center and needs project-based coverage. That's what this brokerage provides. And from there, it becomes a component of being able to get a customer into Ryder and then being able to have that customer stay as a lifelong partner within Ryder. And whether that's final mile, whether that's a new warehouse environment that customer now needs, or whether that's that customer needs additional support from additional services that Ryder may offer. That's really where the brokerage has allowed kind of this concept of being able to get in business with a large logistics company like Ryder from a very small environment. And so the classic customer for us, or the classic kind of case on how this all fits in, is you have a brand new e-commerce customer. They just start out and they don't really know this shipping piece, but they know that they need additional support. And they reach out to the Ryder brokerage, and we start to move freight for them. That customer grows and expands. Business is booming. We're all ordering from home. And that customer all of a sudden needs to open a new warehouse. Well, now that they are in the Ryder environment, there's an opportunity for a warehouse play where that customer can stay with the same logistics provider, both from a transportation piece as well as a warehousing piece. And then maybe that customer wants to get into a final mile environment. Well, Ryder provides that service as well. And so I think that's the really cool piece. When you do partner with somebody like Ryder in a brokerage space, you can start small and build out into a large scale, multi-million, billion-dollar type of company and still stay with the same logistics provider and have the same level of service throughout that environment.
Perfect. It's all about connecting the dots. All about connecting the dots and selling services and building out services that help your customers out. David, thank you so much for joining us today on Put That Coffee Down.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you again. David Stone, Director of Freight Brokerage there at Ryder. And our next guest is coming up. I see he's ready as well, and it is Mustafa Azizi, founder and CEO over at Zuum. How are you doing today, Mo?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great as well. I saw you had a dog there for a second, but before we cut to you.
Well, like me and you have some history, right, with the props. And we got a new group of heart here. Meet Montana.
Ah, Montana. What breed?
What if we did this for like 8 minutes and post it on YouTube? I think it would go more viral than us trying to solve the biggest thing in the world. I think we could get their attention, right?
I think you probably could.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let's have a staring competition with Montana. All right, Montana lead.
All right.
Yeah, it's funny that Montana brought up, and I noticed this was a fleet enterprise, and then I heard some stuff about brokerages and whatnot. First of all, that we were creating our logistics super platform, and the most important part of that is the driver and the fleet, and we're finally completed that thesis on 1.0, and we just released it. And I'm really excited. I want to give some credit to Matan, who's our product manager on that. And it's all about giving credit. Brokers, if they're good at what they do, they will give credit to the fleet so they're there for them long term.
Mm-hmm. It's all about building those relationships. So you got to give credit to those fleets because they're moving the loads. You're doing the sales, but they're moving the loads. But you guys, as you said, you just released a fleet operations, digitizing fleet operations. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yep. So our thesis has always been to bring everybody to one common language, but have our product in a way that if they like something else within that quilt, they can integrate into it. So finally, we came out with the third part of our thesis. We did shipper, we did broker, and now we're coming out with fleets. And it's really cool because I don't think enough people focus on the true wants of a fleet. I heard things like, service is king, but I was a chief operating officer for a fleet of 30 for 3 years in Ontario. And over our docs, we wrote driver is king, because actually what's more important is respecting that guy that's on the road his whole life. And if you respect him and make him feel really good, then what happens is your service becomes good and your profit becomes good. And the other thing is that all fleets are not created equal, right? Like drivers, they don't want to wait around. They don't want a lot of communication. They just want to do their job and they want to be paid good money and not have empty miles. But if you look at the fleet owner, he wants something completely different. His number one focus in the world right now is how do I retain my drivers? His second focus is how do I get equipment? His third focus is, hey, how can I get the brokers off my back calling me all day long? The last thing he cares about is a load right now because there's so many. So the more we build a solution to those true wants, which we're trying to do, and I think we've done like 70% of, the more we're going to hit on that why.
And part of that, there's the operational details, right? How to get equipment, fuel pricing. That's another big topic that's been hitting over the last 60 days. But it's gathering that data, but it's also digesting it, right? It's about reporting. It's about dashboards, reporting, being able to access it, being able to figure out what it says.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that according to the FMCSA, the DOT, that most fleets are below 10 trucks. Mm-hmm. So in reality, I think most of their problems are right now around finding drivers and equipment because the market is blown up. I don't think they really care. I mean, fuel's expensive, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a pass charge to the shipper. What we focused on is 5 points on our TMS that we came out with fleets. Number one was to give every fleet in America their own digital price. Now they can digitally aggregate into all the digital load boards. Our friends like that have startups like Smart Hop, really cool company. We're also talking to Type, another cool company. P44, another cool company. DAT, another cool company. We're trying to work this master thesis to come with the iPod for the fleet and the driver. That's what we're working towards. What Zuum handles in that is, number one, we enable that carrier with the digital price so they can aggregate into all load boards without a lot of phone calls and emails. Number two, what we do is within that TMS, I think we've aggregated the marketplace better than anyone. So if we had a demo, I could show you why it's different because they're all starting to sound the same. The other thing is we truly believe that we have, for the 10 or less or maybe 20 truck carrier, the best thing in the market and the lowest cost point. And we can release that within 4 hours for them, fully branded to them. And we can even build out a website for them for a fraction of the price and enable them with a digital identity, which fleet owners do care about. The last piece is we don't have all the answers. We integrate into Smart Hop, P44, and we're building towards this master thesis that I think really is about to shine, my friend, with the logistics super platform. And that's like why our motto is freight life balance. The technology gives you freight life balance, but also the driver gets freight life balance. And that's what it's all about in the end, isn't it?
It is. It's about freight life balance. So you summed it up really well right there. So a lot of what you're doing is just integrating, getting everything into maybe a one-screen solution or one platform solution, something that I've been around for 10 years, and everyone has always talked about that.
Yeah, one platform. So we give them a back office tool on mobile and web, but then we also connect them with the mobile application. You know what's cool is the same mobile application he would use for our brokerage and other brokers that we enable with our digital brokerage in a box would be the same mobile application he would use to manage his fleet. Now that's how we're aggregating.
Okay, so that's how you're aggregating. That's how you're bringing everything together, and it's all about managing your business better, easier, less tasks ahead of you.
Yeah, we were talking, actually, we've really proven out that thesis on the broker side with the digital brokerage in a box. And a large broker CEO told me, if everybody's buying like these off the shelves and put them together, what's my differentiation? That's where Zuum comes through because we have massive amounts of partnerships, integration, and customization to build your own secret sauce into that quilt.
It is a secret sauce. I don't know if we have slides. I saw some slides up here before.
I can show them.
So I don't know. I don't. Can we throw a slide up? Right, there we go. There's a slide. Right there are differentiation points for you, Mo.
Yeah. So if you want to sell carrier TMS, screenshot this and give it to your marketing department because we're actually walking the walk, not talking the talk. So even if someone takes this and ties it around a clunky system out there, are you really walking the walk?
Are you really walking the walk? So throw a few of these differentiation points out here. I would, but I can't read that far. It's really small on my screen.
I'll read to you. So it was kind of like the ones I hit. Number one, we enable that carrier with the digital price. So if you go to a third-party company and say, build me a pricing algorithm, they might charge a carrier $50,000. How about free day one? Okay. Now you perform like Uber, Freight, and Zuum. Number two, do I want to be on DAT, truck stop, all these load boards, all these digital load boards, or do I want it aggregated within my TMS? So because Zuum shares our marketplace and technology back office with outside stakeholders, we can aggregate the two, which means less OpEx cost points. And it also enables the small trucking company to behave like a big trucking company and be more agile and take more advantage of that. The third point is low cost. I'm telling you, there's a lot, very low cost point. If a huge trucking company comes to us with a lot of customization, the cost will increase. But based on everything out there, money versus value, it is number one. And then the fourth point is that we enable them with the mobile technology that kind of just centralizes all their communication within that platform. If the driver like speaks Spanish and he changes language, our app is in Spanish. And then the last point was that we integrate with everybody, and we have a plan to bring all these apps together into one giant collaboration platform, like Smart Hop, Keep Trucking, all these guys. There's something big coming. It's
something
coming.
big.
And it's gonna be partnerships.
That's awesome. It's great to hear, Mo. It's all about partnerships, all about alliances, it's all about putting all the pieces together in one thing. Where does anyone out there watching us right now go to see more, maybe get a demo with one of your salespeople?
puppyzoom.com. No, I'm just kidding. So we're on zoomapp.com. You can go on YouTube and Google Zuum Transportation. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. Just type in ZUUM Transportation. You'll find us, or we'll find you.
Yeah, so awesome. I mean, that is really awesome. So go in, check out the new product that's out now. Take a stroll around it. Do a demo with one of your guys.
Hey, don't forget, FreightWaves rocks, and without you guys, we wouldn't have a voice.
Well, thank you so much, Mo. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure meeting you last week as well.
Until next time.
Yeah, see you next time on here. Have a great day.
All right, bye-bye.
Perfect. So a couple of really great companies there that we talked to. Zuum right then, and then Ryder right before that, talking about their freight brokerage. It's a great time to be in freight, great time to be in logistics and the supply chain with the technology, the improvements, really smart people doing really great things all over the place. So it's always a pleasure. But I think what we have coming up on the rest of the Enterprise Summit is exciting too. We're going to take a short break, and then John Kingston's going to come on and talk about AB5. I know that everyone is interested in AB5 because it's just slowly creeping through the courts, and we're all on pins and needles trying to figure out what exactly may happen. And then after that, John Gallagher is going to talk with Bailey Wood from CVTA, talking about driver training schools. So we'll take a quick break.
I got friends only wanna talk business. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I got expensive, cause winning